Ladies and gentlemen, now in today's video I wanted to spotlight some of the most powerful regeneration champions in the game as of 2020. So today we're going to be going through who I believe are the top 10 regeneration champions currently, and depending on the scenario and your mastery setup and exactly what mode of gameplay you're in, there's lots of different ways that you could order this list, so treat it as a very rough guide, because you're going to see as we get from like champion to champion how different regeneration can be more valuable in different scenarios. So keep in mind that this is a very rough order, and depending on the scenario, champions can definitely excel and beat out other champions in terms of their regeneration potential. But anyway, starting us off at number 10, we got Scarlet Witch. Now she regenerates via landing a crit when she has her awakened ability. So you need this champion awakened, you need a lot of high sig levels, and you also need the power of RNGesus on your side. But when her regeneration does proc, if you're really lucky and get like 2 or 3 in a row in quick succession, you can take this champion from almost dead to 100% very quickly. So Scarlet Witch is still like a massive roulette world champion. You never really know what you're going to get. You could get 100 hits without the regeneration, and you could get 10 hits and be brought back from the dead with some great RNG. So she's a bit inconsistent for some, but if you're a skilled player, she does provide a very nice top up, and the regeneration will often mitigate a lot of that block, a lot of that parry damage as well. And then at number 9 we have Dr. Voodoo. Now at the start of every single fight, Dr. Voodoo is going to have a regeneration buff, and ideally if you have the awakened ability and a lot of sig levels in Voodoo, this is going to increase the duration of his regeneration buff. So every fight approximately, this is about a 25 to 30% heal at the start of every encounter. But the fantastic part about this regeneration is it's just guaranteed at the start of every single fight. So even if you use like a 20% revive, you know, you can come back from the dead very quickly and be topped up to around like that 40-50% regen. It's going to save you a lot of health potions, and Dr. Voodoo, he's still an absolutely amazing and very relevant champion for a lot of stuff in the story quest, all the way up to Act 6 even, uncollected, and all sorts of events and various bits and bobs. So Voodoo's just a great champion for keeping himself topped up, mitigating a lot of that parry, a lot of that block damage, and also just giving you great value whenever you do use a revive on this champion, providing that you're playing, you know, half decently there. So yeah, I love Dr. Voodoo, man. We did a revisit, I think it was sometime last month, and he's still just such an amazing champion to play for so much of the mid-tier content. And if you're a very skilled player, I know a lot of people do enjoy playing Dr. Voodoo at the end game. So yeah, fantastic champion. Now at number 8 we have a recently buffed Old Man Logan, and again this list is mainly focusing on regeneration capabilities, because overall I would say Dr. Voodoo is a bit more valuable than Old Man Logan. However, Old Man Logan's regeneration after the buff is just so solid, and it's very consistent as well. Now ideally, to get the most out of this, you do need the Sabertooth synergy as well, because while attacking the opponent, that increases the regeneration rate by 120%. So it pretty much doubles the regeneration and a bit. So if you're paying very close attention, every time we do attack into Winter Soldier and we're hitting him, we're healing 146, almost 150 per tick there. So every second, that is a regeneration of 300. It's just very steady, very consistent there. And the great part about Old Man Logan, especially if you time the specials right, is this regeneration does have very close to 100% uptime, and it just keeps on going and going and going. So it just provides him with this infinite level of sustainability where he's always going to be able to regenerate, providing you are playing well and not consuming the regeneration with special attacks too early, which does take a little bit of practice. But again, one of the great parts about Old Man Logan is you don't need him awakened to access this regeneration. Like even unawakened Old Man Logan, as you can see here, still regenerates an absolute truckload. So providing you're playing well, he just has that capability to come back and get the job done. So yeah, Old Man Logan is at number 8 on today's list. Then at number 7 we have a much better mutant champion overall, a Mega Red, who just has such a powerful ability to kind of siphon back health on the special 3 and special 1. So his regeneration is based off the amount of spores you have at the time of firing off either a special 1 or a special 3. So here we've got kind of the standard 10 spores, and if we fire off a special 1, you can see we go from 81% to 89% health, so about an 8% standard regeneration. But spamming the special 1 it's kind of a nice way to like bring you back from the dead, but isn't the best way to get a big regeneration. If you want a massive regeneration, you want to use the special 2 or the suicide masteries or some sort of bleed note to build your stacks as close as you can to 30 and then fire off a special 3. And this is going to siphon an absolute ton back. There is a lot more regeneration on the special 3, especially if you are siphoning a large amount of spores. So here you can see we're on 34% here. We fire off that special 3 there, so we get to see that glorious animation of a Mega Red chucking the opponent about before kind of siphoning the life back with his tentacles there, having a little bit of an evil grin on his face. But look at the health shoot up there, man. Just so incredibly satisfying to watch. Back up to 72% there, so just an absolute massive amount of regeneration. And then it's special 2 heavy attacks and make those stacks stick, so you can build up to another special 3 or special 1. We can see here we've got 17 stacks on the special 1, so this is, you know, maybe a little bit more standard in your average encounter, and we go from 67% all the way up to 82% there. So by doing this, you do siphon a little bit of damage output, because again, ideally you want to have the spores on the opponent and not consume them. But if you do need to regenerate and kind of claw your way back up health wise, Omega is a really solid option for doing so, and he's just been insanely useful for so many players in Alliance quests, dungeons, and all sorts of modes of gameplay. So yeah, overall fantastic champion. Now, at number 6, we have Morningstar, who's a bit of an interesting champion regeneration-wise. So she kind of has 2 different ways that this champion can regenerate, and the first one is via her Awakened ability. So whenever the opponent procs a regeneration buff, she reduces the effectiveness and potency of that regeneration buff, and then triggers a buff of her own. And this buff, if you have like a fully maxed out Sig Morningstar, I think is roughly the equivalent to about 15-20% of her maximum health. So she siphons a lot of regeneration back, but also once you've collected 5 souls of Morningstar, each of your attacks have a 20% chance to lifesteal for 50% of the damage done. Keep in mind that this only applies to your basic hits there. However, if you have a fully maxed out Morningstar, you're running boosters, you got suicide masteries, all of that damage increase is going to convert into a healing increase as well. And granted, you're going to see this heal like 1 in every 5 hits approximately, but in bigger endgame scenarios, especially if you're somebody that runs the suicide masteries, and they're a little bit more tricky to play with Morningstar, but it can really pay off for a lot of players, man. Morningstar is just an absolute beast in the right scenario, and there are so many nodes just all over the place that increase champions damage output, and you know, matchups like Cosmic, which have the 40% attack for the class advantage. There are lots of ways that that passive regeneration via the lifesteal can just be increased further and further. So Morningstar, she actually has such great potential just to keep herself topped up, keep going and going. So I really like Morningstar, and I think her regeneration comes in handy in so many different pieces of content, and she's particularly good as well for the Act 6.1 crossbones to get Cavalier, because that fight is tremendously tricky, but via the Awakened ability, she's just constantly turning his regeneration into a regeneration for herself, and also she's a bleed immune champion as well. But I think just due to the fact that she can keep on powering through and regenerating, granted, it's all about RNG, a little bit with Morningstar, because you need the lifesteal to proc, and ideally when it does proc, you want to land a crit, so you get a massive modifier on it as well. But when it does proc, man, it's just absolutely amazing, and it just tops her up very nicely, so I think she's very deserving of the number 6 spot on today's list. Now, next up is a champion that carried me through a solid year and a bit of Alliance Quest Map 6, Ghost Rider. This champion's ability just to come back from the dead and just keep on harping in that regeneration is just crazy. Like Ghost Rider, he doesn't have the best damage output because you need to sacrifice a little bit of the damage in the order which you play this champion if you want that regeneration, but it's still like very far from being a bad champion. But just look at this champion's ability to shoot up. It is absolutely nuts. Every single hit once I get that regeneration, and you can further extend that with the Awakened ability judgment and placing all the judgments on before you go for the regeneration, is just mad. Every single hit is healing like 713, and this is at 5-star rank 4 level. Get a fully maxed out Ghost Rider. Every hit is like close to about 900, 1,000 per hit there, so it just allows you to top up Ghost Rider so easily, and then you can just reset all the judgments via the special 3 and then just go again. So yeah, he's just a fantastic champion for coming back. I always used to use this guy on the Caltrops path in Alliance Quest, and honestly, man, man. He saved me like thousands of dollars worth of potions back in the day. So I'm so grateful to Ghost Rider. Just an absolutely fantastic champion. And also on the special too, it just has so many hits as well. So if you need like a quick way to kind of burst up as well, like it's a fantastic way to do that. So going in for a 5 combo straight into a special 2, you see we're about 40%, and now we're at 71% there. So the regeneration, it's just mad. It's just so easy to get yourself topped up with Ghost Rider. So I think he's very well deserving of a top 5 spot on today's video. Now moving on to number 4, we have Venom the Duck, and I actually almost missed this champion off my list when initially making it, but I was like, oh man, I have to like consider the regeneration potential of Venom the Duck, and he's a little bit of a weird one because in order to get crazy regeneration, you need to build him up with a lot of regeneration buffs. But in your kind of standard Venom the Duck build, you often want to go for like, you know, 2-3 regeneration buffs if you want some great sustainability. But this man has just been so valuable, especially on my most recent free-to-play account for pretty much all of Realm of Legends aside from Wolverine, a load of stuff in Act 5, and just general like uncollected stuff. He's just absolutely carried me through. But the regeneration potential of Venom the Duck, if you want to build him a certain way, is just silly, man, because you get regeneration at the start of every single fight, every time you build a special 3. If you really wanted to like maximize the regeneration, maybe you want to go for like 4 stacks of power gain, 6 stacks of regeneration, but you're just going to see some crazy stuff. Here I went very overboard and built in 8 stacks of regeneration, so we started this fight on 24% hit points, and again, we can access this regeneration, now it's built in, every time we use the special 3. So that was an instant like 55% heal at the start of the fight, and every time we use a special 3, we can also access another 55% heal. But bear in mind, if you are a skilled player, this is certainly not the best way to build Venom the Duck. I just wanted to showcase some of the insane regeneration potential if you do decide to go down a bit more of a regeneration route when building this champion, and also the fact that he can proc regeneration on his own as well. And this is only a 5-star rank to Venom the Duck, so on like a rank 4, rank 5, those regeneration numbers are going to be much higher as well. So yeah, just a crazy champion if you want to really build in that regeneration there, and I think the potential of the regeneration has to make him a top 5 champion. Now at number 3, we have Black Widow Clairvoyant, and Black Widow is just crazy for the right matchup and scenario. So ideally, Black Widow is a champion that synergizes very well with the Suicide Masteries, because her regeneration is based off the special 2, and it's all based off the amount of damage she deals on the special 2, so the more damage you deal, the more regeneration you get back off it. So anything that increases her attack, such as the class advantage, certain nodes, Suicide Masteries, boost, anything like that, is just going to further increase the regeneration more and more. So if you're a player that just goes all in with Black Widow Clairvoyant, the regeneration potential is just absolutely insane. And also in certain matchups, like cosmic ones, they regularly have buffs, which you can just convert into power via the Mystic Dispersion Mastery, and just spam even more special too. So some of the regeneration I've seen from like high-level Clairvoyant gameplay, where they're running like boosters, Suicide Masteries, is just top tier, man. It's just absolutely fantastic. But I also wanted to showcase Black Widow Clairvoyant 3-star versus the Flare node in Act 6. So we started this fight on about 75%, and this node is going to degenerate 2% of our maximum health every single second, but in return we get a 300% bonus to the attack. However, a bit like Morningstar as well, Clairvoyant, she is relying ideally on getting some nice crits off that special too, particularly the final hit, because that's by far the biggest one out of all of it. And if you see that crit on the final one and you've got a load of attack, man, you're going to get a really nice chunky heal off that. But again, it's very dependent, but you can see here, man, we get some much better RNG and get topped up to 81% there from about 40%. But as mentioned earlier as well, you can just enhance this healing even further if you got the Suicide Masteries, boosters, the class advantage, a lot of buffs. So there are a lot of different ways that this healing can scale up in all sorts of matchups, but overall just makes her fantastic for keeping herself topped up, and a champion that has all sorts of interesting utility that allows her to decimate through content. So I think Clairvoyant, man, she's definitely deserving of a top 5 spot. Now, originally, I wasn't thinking of putting Wolverine in the top 5, but then I played about with this champion a little bit against Winter Soldier, and I was like, damn, I've just forgot how ridiculous Wolverine's regeneration potential is. Like, Wolverine, he has a base regeneration, and then his big regeneration is tied into the signature ability, but also he regenerates based on the amount of power he has as well. But if you get some, halfway decent procs, just the regeneration procs up so incredibly quickly. We're almost beat down. We're at like 70% now. We get like another smaller regeneration, and the smaller regeneration is 300 per second, whereas the larger regeneration is about 620 to 700 every single second. So putting like Wolverine and Old Man Logan side by side, I was like, Old Man Logan's regeneration, it's nice, it's certainly not bad, but Wolverine, when he gets the right procs, man, for his power level as well, is just so silly. So we've been beaten down now to 20% here, and we're going in for another combo. We get the big regeneration proc. You can see like a single big regeneration takes us from 20% to about 45% there. We got another big regeneration, and we are back at like 77%. So, Wolverine, again, he's a bit more of an RNG dependent character, but it's not that low that it's super inconsistent either. And when the regeneration procs, this man just gets topped up an absolutely ridiculous amount. Both of the regenerations are so valuable, and Wolverine has just always been a champion that regeneration wise is so far ahead of X-23 and Old Man Logan, and I think to this day, man, that's still true. I think X-23's regeneration is slightly behind Old Man Logan's at the moment, so she didn't quite make the list today, but she's more damage output than Wolverine. However, Wolverine, he does suffer from the fact that this man, he's got some alright damage output, one of the strongest regenerations in the entire game, but that is about it. And the fact that this man is not available as a 5-star champion does break my heart on a daily basis, because I would love to see the potential of a maxed out Wolverine as a 5-star champion. I think we'd see some really silly stuff from him. So yeah, hopefully one day we can see that maxed out 5-star Wolverine. That'd be so good, because just looking at the numbers on the 4-star champion and that health just bounce up and down, it just makes me excited for what a maxed out 5-star could do. So Wolverine, he has to be still top 5 in terms of overall regeneration potential, although again, as stated, other lack of utility does bring him behind a lot of other champions comparatively speaking, at least in my opinion. Now for the number 1 spot, I think it was a really tough call for me, because I was going back and forth between Blade and Wolverine. However, I think the thing is with Blade, man, his regeneration is still very silly. It's just absolutely crazy, and the thing is, you don't need to rely on any form of RNG when it comes to Blade's regeneration. It's just all about your ability to parry and hold block, and just kind of weave in those scenarios where you can get away with holding block. But you can see here, a 5-star maxed out Blade, every half a second is healing for 834. So every second, that is a regeneration of 1,600 health points. In 10 seconds, that is 16,000 hit points guaranteed if you can hold block for that period of time. And the more you get Blade up in terms of the sig levels, because he does need that awakened ability to regenerate, just the cheaper it becomes power wise to regenerate as well. So it's just crazy, man. Blade just has this very strong ability just to bounce back in any scenario where a skilled player can kind of find intervals to hold the block, and in any scenario where you can parry, you can at least get like a second and a bit on the parry before you commit to a full combo to regenerate there as well. So yeah, Blade is just he's a silly champion in terms of that regeneration. I still honestly believe that Blade has some of the strongest regeneration potential in the game. Like, just the amount he heals is crazy. It's just like a massive level 3 health potion every single second, and that is regeneration that's just mad, man. It's mad. And throughout the time I've had Blade at rank 5, I've just had all these scenarios in Alliance Quest where I'm having like a bit of a bad day, like I die, I lose my whole team, but I've got Blade in the team, so I come back like an hour later, I use a very small revive, one of those like 1,600 potions, and I go from like 4%, and I've ended the fight with like 70% health and managed to regenerate like, 10 to 15,000 hit points. So yeah, I just find Blade so consistent and so reliable in the hands of a skilled player. player once you get used to his regeneration mechanic and how it works. So Blade, at least for me, man, is still the top regeneration champion in the game, but again, depending on your mastery setup, play style, exactly the mode of gameplay, it's very easy to see how all 10 of these champions can be really valuable for all sorts of players. Now, I wanted to round off today's video with some honorable mentions and shout-outs to some pretty good regeneration champions that didn't quite make today's list. It took kind of making a video like this to realize how many champions actually have access to some sort of regeneration. So, first off, we need to give honorable shout-out to Phoenix, our intro champion today. She's got quite an interesting regeneration via that awakened ability and cheating death, which for some people can be good to use. But again, you need to be very confident with Phoenix to consistently pull that one off. Also, Gold Pool, when awakened, actually has some really good regeneration that I believe he can access twice. So yeah, Gold Pool is really good for a lot of players out there. He almost made the list. Also, Venom, if there are a lot of buffs on the opponent, man, Venom can just eat those buffs like crazy and regenerate a lot of hit points. I found him so valuable for the Silver Surfer matchup a couple of months ago. So Venom has a nice regeneration, but again, needs the right scenario. Another champion, Dr. Octopus, has the regeneration Siphon and Steel via his awakened ability, which is crazy good for a lot of big regeneration scenarios. But again, he kind of needs the right scenario, the right matchup. Hyperion, if you dash back and have 3 charges, you can actually get a fairly nice, I think it's about like 25 to 35% regeneration, depending on the sig level of your Hyperion. But again, that slows down the damage a little bit and takes a while to build up. So Hyperion almost made the cut, but not quite. We also have a lot of regeneration in the tech class as well. Warlock on a special 3 can eat infections for a fairly small amount of regeneration, but can, you know, get you topped up, maybe save you in a bad situation. Guillotine can heal for a percentage of the damage dealt. It's not the biggest heal in the world, but it's a nice little top up here and there. Also, Guillotine, just the classic version, the Mystic one, can heal based off the amount of souls and the awakened ability as well. So she heals off damage dealt, very similar to Morningstar, but again, I would say she's very much in the shadow of Morningstar for most stuff, but a regeneration still ain't too bad if you do get lucky with the procs there as well. Also, Darkhawk, whenever he shifts phase and has kind of another mode active, regenerates a little bit as well. Nice for keeping that champion topped up. Also, Sentinel, if you use 2 special 3s, one to get the armor, one to consume the armor for regeneration, you've got a little bit of a nice heal there as well, man. That one's certainly not too bad. You've also got a little bit of healing on Mojo, Namor, Gladiator Hulk. Man-Thing, via his awakened ability, has a little bit of a heal as well, although Man-Thing's block proficiency and ability to survive, at least in my experience, are very much on the low side. Dormammu on the heavies, Rogue on the special 1. You've also got Mordo on the special 3 as well. We've also got Ultron. When he drops below 50 and 25%, you get quite a nice steady amount of regeneration there, so that can be really useful in certain matchups. But Ultron, he's a little bit old hat now, just because the damage output and general utility isn't anywhere near as useful as it used to be, but he's still got a pretty good regeneration. We've also got Angela, a bit of regeneration based off the damage taken. King Groot, via the awakened ability in special 3 as well, has access to a fairly steady regeneration, which is nice for a little bit of top up. It's nothing like too insane there. Doctor Strange in, I think, the middle phase has access to a bit of regeneration as well. Diablo, via his potions, has access to a bit of regeneration. Venom Pool, again, like Venom on the special 1, can siphon buffs and convert them into regeneration. But Venom nowadays is just a much, much better version of Venom Pool. Also, all of the Iron Men. So you got Iron Man, Iron Patriot, Superior Iron Man. With their awakened abilities, they can arc overload and regenerate a bunch as well. And also Beast, via his combos and the awakened ability, if you get them in the right stance, can regenerate a little bit as well. And Cable can proc a bit of regeneration. And there's probably a few other champions that I might have missed off today's list that kind of have a basic regeneration. Howard the Duck as well. But again, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on some of the best regeneration champions in the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you believe any champions are robbed of a spot on this list? Let me know how wrong I am in the comment section below. But aside from that, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.